Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the first training day. We're actually going to do a couple of these. Can everybody hear me okay? If you can't, please speak up. I know I've got you muted all right now, but um, if you are having trouble, send a message in the chat, and someone will help you figure that out if we can. There's still a lot of people joining in here, so forgive me as I am trying to pay attention to that as well as get started. So the what we're calling the Office upgrade is probably something you've heard of, and maybe some of you, I'm sure some of you have already seen it and experienced a little bit of it. This is something that we've been working on for a number of years. It's a giant leap forward for Inflatable Office software and Event Office software, and I think that you guys are really going to enjoy it. Now, I will say right off the bat that there will be a lot of things that you will get frustrated about. And honestly, we've done a lot of testing with these things, and we believe that the majority of these things are going to be just because you're used to doing it a different way. There will be probably some things that we find that are just not as good. And when we find those, let us know, and we'll get right on those as fast as we can. So what we've been doing the last couple of years as we've released the beta, I guess the last year, as we released our beta product, is going through it and kind of combing through it and fine tuning it and taking feedback from people and putting that into practice. Now, I will admit that we haven't been able to get everyone's wishes and desires done yet. A lot of those things are still in the works, but we had to get some of the bigger parts done before we could get back to that. And there's still a few little things here and there that haven't transitioned over to beta yet. One of the things that you'll notice would be the delivery planner. And part of the reason that hasn't come across yet is because we're reworking it. We're not going to bring over the old one. Right now, you can use the old one inside of it, but we're reworking that and we're adding a lot of features to it. So I think you're going to be very happy with what we come up with. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. These are set up to be 45-minute, I don't know if you want to call them presentations or what, but they're going to be 45 minutes long. That's just kind of a goal for me to hit. That leaves a little time afterward for us to take a bit of a break, myself included. And it also leaves some time to ask questions and to talk among yourselves as well. So that'll be the goal. We may run over on a few of these. We may come up a little short on a few of these. But I am going to be recording these, so we will have it made available to you if you want to come back later and watch. And if there was something that you saw that you just need to remember and you want to kind of go through that and watch it, you can. So that'll be available to you. Like I said, we are also doing 2 more days that we have planned. And we're going to do, in each day, we're going to be doing some different sessions. So the first 3 sessions will be very similar because they're very important. But the 4th session on each day that we do for training will be slightly different. It's going to go into some new areas that we didn't talk about on the previous day. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I appreciate all of you joining us and being a part of this upgrade. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So this first session we're going to call How to Use the Office Upgrade. So that we're going to go through kind of the basics. And one of the things that we did with this new software is we've made it such that it works the same all throughout. So if we learn one thing about how to do something on the leads page, it's going to be exactly the same when you get to maybe a settings page or the customers page and so forth. In the old one, we had some pages that looked and behaved very, very different. And it required you to kind of learn how to work all those different pages, and that's going away. We're not going to do that to you anymore. We've tried to be very consistent so that it's a lot easier for you to learn it and a lot easier for you to teach someone who might be new in your office. So first thing I'm going to cover is this main menu here. So in the main menu, you see we have dashboards, events, logistics, and website. Now, dashboards is just a single link, but all of these other ones have drop downs so that you can get to additional pages through here. So you can see we have leads and events, calendar, customers and organizations. Under logistics, we have the delivery planner, the tasks, the payroll and the worker site. And then under website, if you do integrate with our websites, now this is our demo account here, so this looks a little weird, but if you do integrate with our websites, you would have your website name here, so you could go directly to that. You could go and it would log you into the back end of your WordPress website. And then you can also go down to the checkout one, and that's going to take you kind of right to that checkout page so you can see it. So there's are just some kind of quick links. So in addition, on the main menu, we have a number of other things over here. And these are primarily tools that you're going to be using while you're working through all of your tasks and chores in the office. I'm going to cover those in a minute. I'm going to start here with this last one, which is kind of your account menu. So this is where you log out. This is where you see the user agreement. This is where you can get to our help form. And I don't know if any of you have ever done that. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and go to it. You can see we have a whole help thing here. And a lot of people, I know there's quite a few people that don't use this, but this is a great tool to use if you're searching for something. You just type it in here and hit enter. And it's going to bring up a bunch of different things that people have already asked, different things that we've written to show you stuff. You can click on more results. It's going to show you that. If you can't find what you were looking for, when you type in your question, and it's best to have more words than one, what you're going to be able to do is just click this new topic and create a new topic. And we try to give those priority because when we answer these questions here, what happens is it helps more than just you. It helps everyone who later comes to look at that. So additionally, in this icon, which it's not showing right now, but when you switch over, it's going to show you, the demo account's a little different, but it's going to show you a way to get back to the old interface. So there's going to be a link here that says old UI. That's going to be there for a little while. Now our goal with this is to switch everybody over by April 1st and to get you primarily using it, the new system by then. Because we want to get there before your busy season starts. And we want to retire the old version so that we don't have to maintain it and we can put a lot more time and effort into helping you with this new version. So, and helping your company grow. So if we're maintaining two versions, obviously we can't, be as efficient in what we're doing. So I want to go through these other buttons right here. Let's start with this phone bar. So we call these the phone bar, the email bar, and the task bar. Okay, so these buttons cause an additional bar or menu to open up. So if you're using iPhone, you're probably very familiar with this already because we had to have everyone switch with our upgrade recently. But this is going to let you use the iPhone product, and there's a lot of options here that you can get into. This whole phone bar is actually being redesigned. It's going to look very, very similar, but on the next release in January, as part of our iPhone upgrades, you're going to get a lot of great additional information here, like caller ID and so forth. To collapse that, we just click it again. And there's going to be certain times when maybe we're navigating through the product and we want to do something that would activate that phone bar. So if we click on here, we can see we want to call them. We click it, it's going to activate it. It's going to open it for us immediately. And that's how all of these bars will work. So if you're going to email somebody, when you click on their email address, it's going to bring this phone bar up and it's going to load it in for you with that information. You can always click it and do it manually as well. So that's not an issue. So this is the email bar. We do have a text option here that is going away with our upgrades to iPhone. We are only going to be doing text through iPhone. If you don't have an iPhone account with us, you should definitely check into it. Even if you just want to get a number for texting, it's probably worthwhile checking into. That's a really great product. So, but this texting one will go away. That'll be entirely handled by iPhone. Part of the reason for that is that we get much, much better delivery when you're using our iPhone product for your texting. So the other taskbar here is this is technically what we call the taskbar. So This is how you enter tasks when you're doing CRM work. So we have a CRM product, a customer relationship manager product, and with that comes this whole task system. So it's for keeping track of to-do lists. It's for setting tasks for yourself or for someone else to do. I'm not going to go into detail on any of these bars. I just want to show you how to use them. And one of the big changes, and the reason why we did it this way, is because now it doesn't matter what page I go to, I can always have access to these different bars, okay? It used to be that the email bar was different when you were on the leads page versus the customers page or whatever, and it wasn't even accessible in some cases. Now all of these things are accessible no matter what page you're on in this system. So the last thing I want to show you here is our little settings menu. Our settings menu, I shouldn't have said little, because if you look at it, you can see it's anything but little. Look at all these settings here. There's just so much, and it's very overwhelming. So if you know what you want to get to, it might be easy to go ahead and click it and find it. It's all alphabetically done. But one of the best ways to do it is just to type in what you're looking for. Just type a few letters in, and it's going to highlight whatever might match. And you can see in some cases it doesn't actually match the title of it, but we have other stuff in there that matches. And so it makes it a lot easier to find what you're looking for inside of our system. And that's only going to get better over time as we add more keywords in there, as we notice what you're searching, and we try to help you find those things faster. So don't be afraid to use this search bar. It's probably one of the best ways to quickly find what you're looking for. What you're going to notice here below is we're also pulling information from our help system that I just showed you a little bit ago. So these are different topics that you can click on that somewhat match what you might be looking for based on what you're searching. You can always click this see more as well, and it's going to open up a search inside of the help system with that word. So it's going to show you even more items that you could find. So this is persistent, so it's going to stay there until you clear it. So you'll have to clear it when you're done using it. So next thing I want to show you. So this is that's the summation of the menu bar. That bar is always going to be there. That main menu is always going to be there, and in a smaller viewport, what you'll see is like if you're on an iPad or a phone, you're going to see some of these things kind of stack into like a single button. So these menu items here would become what they call a hamburger menu, and you'd have to tap that to see each of these items and so forth. So, and I will say that a lot of that mobile stuff is not completed yet. So if you're looking at it and you're disappointed in the way it works in mobile, don't get too worried about it. That is one of the next things we're going to be tackling. It should be pretty decent out of the box, but we do have a lot of tweaking that we can do. So let's talk about the sidebar for a minute. So this is the sidebar, this green area over here. And you can see that it has some content in it here. It has this little logo up here. It's also going to show you who it is that's logged in. So I'm logged in as the demo account, the main admin of the demo account, which the username is demo. So if you're logged in as a worker, it's going to show your worker username up here. So you always know how you're logged into the system. If I were to click this little icon here, it's going to give me a wider view. So some of you are going to really like to operate on this view, especially if you have a small screen. You may keep this clicked most of the time so that it's collapsed. Simply just click it again when you want to see it. Now, sometimes when you collapse this, you're not going to see the inputs because they won't fit. But there's other menu items that what we do instead of removing them entirely is we show an icon that symbolizes that menu item versus showing the entire menu item. So that's the sidebar. The sidebar is going to contain different things. It's kind of contextual. So wherever it is you're working, it's going to have stuff that makes sense to you. So if I'm on a list, what I'm going to see over here are filters. Okay, this is things that I can affect this list by. So if I click on something, you're going to see how it changes. Now I have something different here. I have, instead of filters, I have navigational links. Okay, so if I scroll, you can see if I'm scrolling down here and I get to a new section, I'm going to see it switch. So I'm in the venue section right now, and you can see it's now highlighted. Now, one of the fastest ways to work through these sections, especially in the leads page, because there's so many, is to actually click them. So if you click them, you're going to go right to them. And if it's a section that's normally closed, there's a few like that. So payments, we would normally show it closed because it's not something you're doing all the time. You can always click to see it, or if I were to click the menu item here, it's going to immediately show it. Okay, and that's how the sidebar works. So anywhere in the product that you go, you're going to see filters here if you're looking at a list, and you're going to see section menus and navigational menus if you're looking at what we would call an item or an entity. So anything that we click on a list. Okay. So let's talk a little bit now about the item list. We're looking at an item list right now. That's this large section here. Item lists, you're going to see these everywhere. It's because of all the data that we help you store and manipulate and use. These lists lend themselves very well to management of those things. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few highlights of the lists. Now, there's a few differences between lists and filters because certain things you don't need to filter as much. We wouldn't probably have as many fields. Like, for instance, if we are to go to something like surfaces, sure, we still have a filter here. Sure, you can still type in it and filter this down if we wanted, but there's no purpose to have additional filters than that. So you can see it's very simple. Again, on this list, you don't see the report box that was listed here. We'll go back and show you that on the leads list. The leads list contains everything you basically can see as far as list options. So we'll go through kind of on the top here and show you what these different buttons do. I think that this is very clear here. We always have the add button right here, and it's in a primary color, so you can quickly add an item to the list. Next to that, we in general will have results, and that is basically telling you how many things are in this list that you've filtered. Okay. Now, we're not going to show all those things at once because, you know, if you're a large company or you've been using this for a long time, what you're going to see happen is you're going to have thousands and thousands of these things. And if we were to try to show all these at once, it would really make it slow. So we only show a certain number at a time. But if I were to scroll down, as we get to the bottom of our list, we can see it says loading more. So it's going to go out and it's going to get more. And it's just going to keep doing that as far down as you want to scroll. It's just going to go and get more. And what that does is it makes it all operate a lot faster. So while there are 55, and you can see all records are loaded now, I've completely loaded all 55. We don't show all 55 or whatever it is at once. Okay. This button right here, it says print. That is going to be possibly different on different lists. Okay, what we try to do here is we try to put the primary button on top that you're going to use, and we put any secondary buttons underneath. Now, these buttons are not active because these operate on items that you've selected in the list. So if I want to do something, I'm going to have to check an item or two, and now I can actually do it. It'll let me look at it. So I can delete from here. I can do an email from here. If I were to click email, you're going to see it's going to load in those leads, and I can then select the template and email out to them. Very simple to do. So if we were to filter a list, let's say we wanted to email John Smith something, or we wanted to print all of his stuff. So we could type in Smith, and without getting too deep into the filters, I'll pick the one I want, and then we select them, and we can go to print if we wanted. I'm not going to get too deep into our print utility either yet, but we have a whole print utility here as well. So we'll cover that at another time. But you can see that the way we would use these lists is going to be the same throughout the product. And what I'm trying to do is educate you on how simple and easy these lists are to work with. So one of the other things that we've added for you guys is the ability to do a lot more sorting by these headers. Okay. So if you click these, and even in the old version, we allowed you to do some sorting. But in this one, you can do multiple sorts. So let's say we have some items that are on the same day, like down here, we see Kathy and Bill. They're on the same day, but we want them in alphabetical order. So now what we can do is we can add a secondary sort and say, I want to also sort by the organization, and I want it to be, let's see which direction. Well, it's because we're sorting by date and time, because the time is different. So it's always going to put that time sort first. So I'd have to have two that were on the same time. So that was a pretty bad example. But if we were to sort maybe by city and state as well, we could have two different customers in the same city and state. And unfortunately, I don't know if I have any like that in the demo account, but let's try it. Let me turn off the organization sort. And so we'll see city and state here, and let's see if we have anybody. Okay, so we do have some people in different, let's see, in the same city here in Akron. So we should be able to get that to sort. So let's try a secondary sort on organization. Oh wait, here's a better example here. We have this South Carolina. So we click here, and now we're sorting by South Carolina, but now we're also sorting alphabetically by the organization. So that's a convenient thing that you can do in the new version that you can't do otherwise. Now, maybe doesn't seem that useful when you're just looking at the list, but it can be very useful if you want to generate a report. So before, when you did reports, it was done over in the sidebar. Now we've moved reports over here, and we've made them far more dynamic. All we have to do is click in here, and you can select any report that you have built already. Very simply, if we were to select the customer types report, we're actually going to see the report show up immediately. And it's going to change the columns and so forth. So we're not loading in a new page, and then whenever you want to clear it, you can just clear it. We can click here if we want to print this report. It's going to give us a printable view, which is pretty convenient. And again, we see the totals on the bottom. If you want to export it, you can do that as well. We would click here and just click export, and then we can open it up in a spreadsheet. I'm not going to do that, but very simple to do reports now. So we think that reports are a very important part, and it makes this software even more useful when you can do any sort of custom reporting that you guys might need to do. So that is kind of what you need to know about the list view. So let's take a look now at an item page. So any one of these is an item, and I'm going to go to a more simple item to start with because this is a little more complicated. So we'll just go to surfaces. It's a really simple item. So if we're going to click on an item, we're going to get what we call the item page. Okay. So this item page is going to have a lot of information on it as well, and it's going to be ordered in a certain way. So I'm going to show you some of those different things that you can see in here. We talked already about the contextual menu. So you can see you have a menu over here, so you can navigate very quickly to what you want to see. Up here is what we call the header, and that will be kind of like the main identifying name of the item that you're looking on. So here it says concrete. Now, if I were to change that to something else, you can see the header updates always immediately. So that's kind of a nice thing because of the data binding that we're using for this. There are other things that can show in the header. It's usually on more advanced items. If, for instance, you're working with a lead, you would see a lead ID over here on the right. If any of you have got into using recurring leads, which you probably haven't so much because recurring leads are new to this Office upgrade, you would see a note over here showing you whether this was a recurring lead and whether it was the master lead or one of the leads created from the master lead. Okay, so that other stuff may show in this header. Those are the only examples that we have so far, but we will continue to use that header to give you more information about your items. One of the other things I want to show you on this page, and it's on every item page, and we're working through that. Some of them it's missing right now, but we're working through adding it and making it even better. But we have a help section. And this help section actually is referencing a document that is inside of our knowledge base that is in the help site that we just showed you a few minutes ago. It's referencing a document there. And this just kind of brings a document in that's going to be important for you as you try to navigate and work through the inputs and things that you might want to do on this page. So this is going to tell you, exactly what you might need to know as you're reading through this. And what we try to do is not only tell you how to do it, but we try to explain to you why you would do something a certain way. And we try to give you kind of common practices so that you know what you might want to do in this case. So some of these will have links to other help topics. Some of these will have videos embedded in them and so forth. But if you're struggling with something on an item page, I encourage you to go ahead and have a look at the help section. You're probably going to find the answer to your question right there without contacting us. So check there first. It might save you a lot of time. The other thing I want to show you here is these field names. So these are field names and these are fields. That's how we refer to them. So these fields can be changed by us or by you to some degree. And that's primarily because we want to be able to support multiple languages. So that is not completed yet, but it's on its way. It's well on its way. And so if you do have a need to have a different language, please get in touch with us, and maybe you can be one of the first people to test that out. But the thing that I wanted to show you is these green dots that are underneath. When you see these green dots underneath, you know that there's additional information there, and all you have to do is hover or click on it to see it. If you're on a touch device, you would have to tap on it and tap it again to get out. But this is going to give you additional information about this field. We want to keep the screen as clean as possible so it's not confusing looking. So we're trying to keep these words to a minimum here for the field names. That's why what we're going to do is give you these help prompts on these field names to help you understand what it is that we're looking for in that field input. Okay. The last thing I want to cover is the footer down here, and that's at the bottom here. So if we're looking at, and I'm going to go to a lead now because I want to show you a few things that you would only see on a lead footer. So let's go ahead and click on a lead. So here's a lead footer, and you can see that the header and the footer, it doesn't scroll when we scroll. Okay, those are always available to you, always there. Down at the bottom of the footer is, on the right, are your action buttons. These are the buttons that are gonna perform an action with this certain item that you're looking at. So you're always gonna see a close button, and then you're gonna have some sort of primary button over here, usually that is related to saving. You have a drop down here, so you can do additional tasks if you want. So if you want to save and close, we can save and close, save as a copy. We can make a copy of this, save whatever we've done as a copy and not overwrite the original. And then of course we just have a save button here that we can click on. So on the left side, we're going to see additional things that are primarily only seen on the lead. There's a few other items that will have this as well. But what these are going to do is these are going to navigate us to other content that we would use just for this thing. So in the case of a lead, we would maybe want to view that quote or that contract or that packing list really quickly. So these are kind of quick links to get to it as opposed to going through this navigation pane and finding them over here. Plus these are views that are more printable and things that are going to be more likely things that the customer are going to be seeing. Okay, so those are just quick links to get to those. All right. So that kind of covers the item page. So let's talk a little bit about some of our linking. So one of the big differences between InflatableOffice's original version and this current version is the way the URL behaves and the way linking behaves. Now that might seem very boring to you, but I can guarantee you're going to really enjoy the changes. In the previous version, when you clicked on something, the link did not change, the content did. And that was fine, except for if you wanted to link to it, right? If you wanted to send a link to one of your coworkers and they clicked on it, it would not take them to the place that you were at. But now it will. So in this case, you can see we're on the leads. This is the item ID, and this is the section that we want to be in. Now, there can be other content in that link, but you can see that it opened us up right to where we were before. That's a super useful thing as you're communicating with each other in the office. And it's also super helpful when you have an issue with something and you want to help show us what you're looking at. You can send us a link like that, and it's going to help us find where you are and what you're doing. One of the other cool things that we're doing with link, one of the other cool things that we can do because we're linking like that is we can use the back and forward buttons, which we were not able to do in the previous version. So if I want to go and look at the customer profile, I can click there and see the customer profile. If I want to go back to where I was, I just click the back button. It's going to take me right back to where I was. So we don't have to open new tabs as much as we used to do. It used to be that when you wanted to look at a customer, you'd have to middle click and open it up in a new tab because you didn't want to lose where you were. Now you can just click it, go to it, and then click back, and you're right there. Now the only difference is that if you've made some changes here and you haven't saved them, when you go to click, it's going to give you a prompt. And these prompts are going to change with our next release because I don't think they're clear enough. But basically, these prompts are going to say, hey, you have some things that are unsaved. Do you want to just stay here and open a new tab? Or do you want to save this and then go to that new page? So we do give you those options. We're going to add a cancel in here as well. But we do give you those options. So again, you don't have to open new tabs all the time. You can just work the product like you would normally work through a website. So if I click stay on page, you can see it's going to open in a new tab. However, I could have clicked save, and it would have saved this, taken me to that new area, and then click back to get back to it. And I can just show you how that works. So we'll say save and leave. As long as there's no issues with this lead, it should save it, take me over to the customer. And then when I'm done with the customer, I click back. We go back to where we were, and now we can see that the city has been saved as something different. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go through something that we call messages. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to click save. When I click save, you're going to see a message come up. See this message down here in green? It says that we've actually saved it for you. You can see over here there's like a little message icon. It shows how many messages are stacked over here because messages can stack. So we can have multiple messages here. And we can click OK, or we can just ignore it. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and click OK in this case. But that seemed like that wasn't that big of a deal, right? Who cares too much about that message? You're right. That doesn't seem like that exciting of a message. But let me show you what we've done with some of our messages that give you a lot more information. So if I were to change this, now I see a message that is more useful to me. Okay. In fact, I see 4 messages here. So I've changed the delivery type on my lead, and now it's telling me that my chair cover, the price actually should change based on my settings. For some reason on this demo account, I have it set to be free when they pick it up. And I can simply click change or ignore if I don't want to do it. So in this case, I'm going to ignore it. I want to keep that price. Maybe, and it shows my tent price should change too. I want to keep that price. Maybe it shows me that my delivery method, because it changed, now I shouldn't have had tax, but now I'm supposed to have tax. Well, maybe I want to do that. So I click change. And it actually does that up here in the system. So I don't have to navigate up, find it, and fix it anymore. And then again, we say, there's a staffing change. Okay, so because it's a pickup, we probably don't need staff. So we can do that here as well. So that's the message system. And I'm not going to get too deep into these messages because we're going to go over that more when we get to the leads and working with leads. but you can see how these messages can be very useful. And you're going to see those throughout our product. In general, they'll be at the bottom like that, and they'll be in those same colors, where they're yellow for a warning. They'll be green when it's something successful, and you may see some reds as well if you're doing something that we don't want to allow you to do, and we'll give you a reason why. So that's kind of the messages, and like I said, you're going to see those throughout. You'll even see them in these bars up here. They'll show up down here if there's an issue with sending an email and so forth. So I know probably some of you here have multi-location accounts, and if you don't know what that is, don't worry. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but for all you multi-location people, I just want to let you know that we've thought through multi-location on this new backend even better than we had on the original one, and you're going to see the ability to work with your locations a lot better than you ever have. In general, you're going to see the location up near the top on the leads. It's going to actually show up in this space here on the left. But let me show you, and I guess I could log in as a multi-location user real quick, just so you can see what that looks like. So let me do that real quick. I think this is the login. Let's see. Oops. Let me look that up real quick. Okay, no underscore. All right, so I'm logged into a multi-location account. You'll see on the leads, we show the location up here at the top. We put it at the top because it's very important to the rest of what we're doing. So we want you to fill that out first. We can also see it in any other thing. Let's not do statuses, let's do surfaces. So we can see locations show in the list, so you can easily see what location you're working with. You have an additional filter over here for location, so you can just look at one location if you want. And then we also have the ability to come in here to that item and change the location. We can change it, or we can do save as a copy as well. So one of the things that we also have added here, and I don't know, let's see. Okay, yeah, this one's one of them. So we can do an edit multiple. So that's kind of a neat new feature, and you're going to see that show up on more items where you can say, I want to edit all of these at once. And maybe you just want to say, well, I always want to make my flat fee $10 for all of them. And then I'm going to save it. Well, because it's multi-location, I don't want to actually change the location. So in that case, it was not a great example. But let me go back here. Let's add another surface real quick.
Quick question. What is that save multiple button that I just saw?
Yeah, the save multiple, that's what I'm talking about right now. Let me add this one in here real quick and I'll show you here. The save multiple is meant for you to be able to edit multiple things at once. So if you're going to change something here, let's say I want to make all of these have a similar characteristic. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to click edit multiple. And once I've clicked edit multiple, now it's telling me that I'm saving multiple, okay? So I obviously can't change the name to be the same. We don't allow that. But maybe I want to make the fee $5 for both of those. I save it. Now I've just saved both of them at once, as opposed to clicking each one of them and going into it. Now the logic to do those sort of things is a lot more complicated. So we have not extended that to all the items. We've only have it on a few items right now, mostly the simpler items. But rest assured, we're going to work through doing that for even the complicated ones like inventory and leads, where it's probably the most convenient for you and the places that you would most likely want to use those. So that's kind of what I want to show you with multi-location. I'm going to go back because I know I don't have as many multi-location users, and I'm going to log in as a normal user just so we can look at the rest of the things we're going to do here just as a normal user. So I talked a little bit about saving state. I talked a little bit about persistence when I talked about how you type in something here and it's going to stay there, and the next time I open it up, it's still there. Okay, so it used to be that when you logged in, we were giving you one default view. Now, no matter what username you log in, whether you're the admin or a worker, we are going to save your state or your preferences as you use it so that the next time you come back, it looks the same for you. This is very useful when maybe you're working through a list of items. So let me type in something here, and we'll say we want to look at anybody with the last name of Smith. And maybe we're working through some stuff here and we get distracted and we come over here for some reason and we decide, well, we want to go back over to our leads. We can see that state was saved. We're still looking at the same filter. So we don't have to go and filter it again. And I think this is going to be a very useful thing for you. It's kind of going to present the same sort of thing, right? Like maybe you wanted to get back to the entire list, but it brought you back to this one that was actually filtered still. I think that in most cases, this is going to be preferable over what we used to do. So it's going to take a little getting used to because it's kind of the reverse, but I think that you're going to find this very useful. So not only will we save that state, we'll save the state of your sidebar. If you like it collapsed, we'll keep it collapsed for you. Next time you log in, you can see in some cases that's still really useful. We can know that this is venue and this is our customer, and we can still get to what we want, but we have more screen real estate as we're doing it. And that'll save for you, so you don't have to worry about that. That is being done in a lot of different places throughout the software. One of the places that we aren't doing that yet on, that we plan to do it on, are things like these drop-down buttons here, okay? So if you're always using Save Close, what we want to do is we want to make that the primary button for you. So that's coming eventually. So we'll save the last button you use will be the button that's on top. So if you use it a lot, it'll just always be there for you. But that's coming. The last thing I wanted to kind of cover, and like I said, we're just doing kind of a general overview here. And what you're seeing is how to use the software in its entirety. And I'm doing that all in 45 minutes. And it's going to be the same throughout. So I don't have to teach you how to use surfaces and vendors and leads. I can just teach you how to use items. And whatever you learn today about items is useful throughout the entire thing. So the goal is to really make it simple for you. Now, that said, there are a couple special pages, and there probably always will be, because there's certain things that we can't really do the same. Dashboards is one. So for dashboards, and this is, I think, one of the coolest parts of our Office upgrade. On dashboards, you're going to see where you can design a dashboard with information and statistics that are useful to you. We have some pre-built ones, quite a few of them over here. And I don't want to get too deep into how to use a dashboard because that's going to be another session that we're going to do at another time. But you could see, obviously, this would not work well. You would not be able to get what you want out of a list view. So the dashboard is something that's different. The other things that are different would be the delivery planner. That's different. And it will probably always be different. The calendar is another thing that is different. It's obviously going to be, we could not show you the thing that you want to see in a list view. So that looks a little different. And there's going to be a few more that you're going to find throughout the software. Now, some of these things that you find are different simply because we have not improved them yet. We have not brought them completely over to this new style. But there are going to be some, like we just went through, that they're just always going to be different. There's just no way around it. We just can't do the same sort of view that you get here and give you the information that you need and want. So that kind of goes through all of the basic things that I wanted to cover. Now, I know I have somebody here on our support team with us today, and if they feel I've missed something that they want to chime in on, they can feel free to. Also, this would be a good chance if anybody has any questions to go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question, and I'll be happy to answer that. So,
hey, Tim, one thing that people were asking a lot about, can you clarify what's going away with text messaging and IO phone? Because some of that is, I think, in the future going to get moved to the phone icon. but people are worried about their text templates going away because they're all set up under Email Center and things like that. So could you just clarify what you meant by what's going away?
Sure. You will not lose any functionality. It will only be improved. Setting up text messages in the email center is not really ideal because you get HTML in there. We have to try to strip it out. It looks like you can send images through that, but we can't do it that way. Although MMS, we will be able to send images soon. So what we're doing is we're going to be improving it quite a bit. You will not lose your templates. We'll try to transfer those templates for you into the new templating system. But a text message can only be text, so we can't have some of that fancy stuff in there. So no bold, no italic, no. You can do links, but they have to be typed in, HTTPS, whatever. They can't be just text with a link around it. So, that's one of the other reasons why we're transitioning it. So I will say you will not lose any functionality with it.
How about if they don't have IOphone, because that's what you mentioned?
If you don't have IOphone is really easy to get. You don't have to use your business number. You can just get a number that just for texting. We don't charge you for the number. Right now, we charge 3 cents a text. That price plan is going to change with all the upgrades we've done with IOphone. There will be a monthly fee to use IOphone, and that is going to take effect in July. And there will be more information coming about that. But in order for us to make this product what it needs to be to serve you as best as possible, that is what we have to do. So I see someone has a raised hand here. Let's see here. I'm going to ask to unmute you, and I'm going to lower your hand, and you can go ahead and speak.
Yes, I had a question. Will all of our data and everything transfer over to the new program?
Absolutely. It's actually already there. So that's something I should show you guys how to do. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So I'm just going to open a new tab here, and I'm not sure if you guys realize this, but you can see that we have the domain listed a little different now. It's under something called rental.software. So you probably noticed that happened over the last week or two. That you shouldn't worry any about that. That's still Inflatable Office. That's still Event Office. We just wanted to generalize that. So if I'm in the old system, you can see when I look at leads, I see the same exact stuff that I see over here. If I were to come in here and click on this lead here, this top one, and I were to change the name of it, I'm going to change it right here just to something simple and save it. You're going to see immediately, oops, what did I do wrong? Customer type. You're going to see that it's going to be reflected here as well. So I would have to refresh the list to see that, but you can see it's right here. When I close the list, you can see it refreshes. So the data is exactly the same. So technically, you can move between the two and work between the two at the same time. So, and it's not going to affect anything. And I think it's very important that you know that the data is the same. You cannot come into this and say, well, I'm going to just play around and delete a bunch of stuff, because you're going to actually delete your data that you want. So don't do that.
As far as the contract's concerned, that will transfer over also, or do we have to reload it?
Are you talking like a contract on the lead?
Yeah, like when we print our contract for the customer.
Well, it's the same. It's using the exact same database. So there's nothing different about it. Now, I will say that there are a few things on both of them that you have to remember. So if you're working in here, you can set up, and we'll go through some of these new features in it later, but you can set multiple categories for an item on this new UI, on the Office upgrade. You cannot do that on the old one. So if you go to the old one and you are to make, and I think we've set this one up so we still keep those. We won't overwrite what you've done on the new, but you just have to remember that you can't do those things on the old one. Now there is something a few things on the old one that you can do that you can't do on the new one yet, and they're very they're things that people don't do very often. So let's just look at one of those that I'm aware of. So if we wanted to do price conditions, and we were looking at advanced pricing. In here, we can do not only we can do customer type and day. So we can say like commercial, and then we can set it per day. We cannot combine the two on the new one. If you're going to do by the day on the new one, it's just by the day. You can't also do customer type yet, but that is coming. So I just wanted to let you know about that. But like I said,
do location and day?
You cannot do anything in addition to day on the new one. However, you can still set it on the old one for now, and we're working on bringing that over to the new one. We're going to make a bunch of improvements to that and additional things that you can do, and that's why we haven't transferred it yet. So, any other questions?
What about sales tax filters? Have you come up with anything yet? I know here I do different counties. So is there a way you can separate it by county? Because some counties are at a different tax rate.
Yeah, this goes a little bit outside of the scope of what we're covering right now, but I will do that and show you that real quick. So if I wanted to do a sales tax report by county, I would just come into our reports area, and I would want to look for let's see, it'd be lead county. That's one of the things I want in my report. I want to group by that. And then I also want to put in, and then this could be a lot of different things, but we're just going to make it simple here. So let's do, I want a total. So let's do total less tax. And then, maybe we want our tax rate. Let's see, let's do, oops, tax. Okay. And then maybe I want to move those around a little bit. So I could build a report like this. And again, the thing that's complicated with tax is which one, when you have to base it on what you actually need. So we have to look at are we looking at just the payment that was made? Are we looking at the total tax? Are we looking at on like more of a per item basis? So that's important. This is a very simplified version of this, but I just want to show you how it works real quick. So if we were to come over here then, and say, in general, you're going to set a date range. You're going to say, and I'm not going to do that on this one because I don't know what dates our data is in, but I'm going to come over here, and I don't have to scroll. I can type in and find it, and it's going to show it to me. So it's going to show me all the counties, all my tax, all my totals. Okay, it's going to sum them up at the bottom, and I can sort if I want, and then I can also export it if I want, or I can print it if I want. So it's really easy to get that stuff. Now, some of that tax reporting you can do in the old UI right now. I would encourage you to connect with our support team on tax reporting just to make sure that you get the right values. We don't want you to make any mistakes.
Okay, yeah, and also
every
like
place's tax is different, so we want to make sure we help you get it right.
And also like in one sale, if 3 items are taxable and then 1 item is not taxable, such as glitter tattoos or something is not taxable. Will it show that amount separately under like total sales, because the state will say, what are your total sales?
Yeah, let's look at that.
And then sometimes you'd show like, say it was $100 that's not taxable. It's going to show that as you sold it, but it's not going to say, oh, but this isn't taxable.
So we have 2 other columns here, and these are probably ones that you're going to more likely use than this total.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Taxable
Perfect.
and non-taxable. So those are available in both systems. And so, like I said, based on what you need, if you ask us, we can help you design it. And it's really good for the first few filings to make sure you're double checking it your other way as well, to make sure that you have it set up the way you need it to be. So.
Okay, great.
All right. Any other questions here? I'm going to take one more question right now, and then I'm going to go ahead and take a break before I start the next session in 5 minutes.